Well Read Baddies, welcome to another episode of She Well Read. I am Alana.
And I'm Samra.
And we back from our break.
Yeah, did you miss us?
I did.
I missed us too.
I know, I literally haven't seen you since the last time we recorded.
Right, are we even friends? Or are we business partners?
We're both. Bitch, you been in fucking Minnesota, Wisconsin, fucking, where were you?
All that. No, because I road tripped, so I technically
Right.
did. I was in Iowa,
Uh-huh.
Kentucky,
Uh-huh. Illinois, right?
Illinois.
I saw that at one point on the map.
I was in Illinois.
I was watching your location the whole time.
I was doing stuff. I was out and about, rolling around in Minnesota. I was really just visiting family, guys.
Wait.
What?
Pause. Just pin in that. Shout out corner. Y'all.
Yeah.
I had half a glass of wine before this recording, full disclosure. So, you know, take that as you will.
You may be thinking, half a glass.
That's nothing because it's not. But when you haven't eaten since 1 p.m., I had a glass of wine and ate afterwards. I should have swapped it.
Flip that one.
Okay. Shout out corner. Follow us everywhere. She Well Read. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Patreon, which we're recording a mini-sode soon. So go subscribe, and we'll have our monthly call for June. So go get in there, and also support this season's partners. On the last episode, the like mini episode, you heard the discount codes and all the things. So yeah, Be Rooted, Basic. Go shop with them. Okay.
B.
Yeah, there's a lot of B's. Damn.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it.
I love it.
Now coffee break. Continue.
Okay. So, guys, I had, I guess one graduation party, 2 graduations. So I went up to Minnesota and then just stayed with my grandparents. So y'all know how, like, I don't know if I think this is common. Like, oftentimes you end up being closer with your mom's parents than your dad's parents, because that's just the nature of
Mine was flipped. I was closer to my dad's, my grandma, because my grandpa passed before I was born, but my grandma, like, that's my dog.
Heard that.
Well, she was, rest in peace.
It'd be like that,
right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, depending
on it's always one side or the other,
right?
Usually.
So for me, it was my mom's side. So I was like, you know what? Let me take this time to just sit my ass in Minnesota for a whole week. No distractions except for work, but I can work from home, so I can just be there and stay. So I did, and it was truly the most heartwarming, great experience. Yes, I had such a nice time, and you know, my grandma's a G. I love to see
We love grandmas in this house.
We do, and we were just vibing, and my grandpa is getting older, and I didn't realize how, like, kind of forgetful he's getting, and it reminds me of my other grandpa who passed, rest in peace.
Oh, the one who had Alzheimer's?
Yeah, it's giving very much like dementia energy. It is giving that, and so it was hard. I mean, I was kind of used to it, but I realized my aunt who came by, she was like a little bit emotional about that.
Is that her dad?
Yeah, and she just didn't realize like how bad it had gotten, right? And so, yeah, you know, it's hard. It's hard to see people age, and you know,
it is.
Yeah, guys. But so anyway, where were you, Lana? Because you were out and about also.
I was in Houston for my sister's graduation.
Grad season.
It is grad season. Yeah, we were literally both gone for graduations. So I was in Houston, and I saw a bunch of family too. Yeah, it was my mom's side. So I feel like I heard when I heard you say your thing, I heard grandparents. I feel like I was closer to my dad's parent than my mom's parents.
Yeah.
But like family, why? I don't know. I kind of rock with both sides. Period. I feel like my mom's side is like really like all the cousins and aunts and uncles, but it's the same with my dad's side because he has 2 sisters and I rock with them.
Yeah.
So like,
do you feel like you spent more time growing up with one?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Because I rock with both sides. It's just.
It was kind of. Actually, no. It was definitely. Okay, early life, it was more dad's side because I lived closer.
Her.
But I feel like, well, no, now that I say that, no, it's pretty equal.
That's good, though.
Yeah, even
Okay,
with
goals.
like separated parents, it was pretty equal.
Shout out to y'all.
Shout out to the fam. Shout out to the fam.
They really prioritize both sides. That's goals.
So it was really nice to see family.
Isn't it so nice?
It is. It really. You really got to take some time to do that, especially with how the world is. Like you never really know.
Yeah.
I know that got dark really fast, but
it's real.
It is real. So
that's really family matters, right?
Family matters. But yeah, I was also glad to be home again. And
yeah, girl.
Well, like yours was different. I flew. You drove 15 hours. Like
that's true.
How are you like here recording right now?
Well, first I took a half day.
Period. I was like, I really hope she like took the day off or like I don't know because
my day was pretty chill, so I was able to just just cruising this Monday. But okay, yeah, period. I am still a little tired. I'm gonna sleep real hard tonight.
Period. Well, yeah, mini life updates for us, but let's get into it because she's a thick one, and we got story questions. We got lots to cover, so let's get into the chapter. All right. Let's hop on in.
I was cracking up these chapters.
One of them, I was like audibly like having reactions.
She's so funny.
She is so funny. But like it did get like, we've been saying this the whole freaking season. Trigger warning over everything.
Oh yeah, we get the really inside scoop.
We do.
Here.
We do.
Alrighty, guys. So we're starting on chapter 67, page 224.
Page check.
And honestly, it started out in a really good place. I was like, wait a minute, because the first sentence says, I have hope.
For the first time in years. I was like, oh, all right.
Right? I was like, wait, what happened? And we learned that Jeanette has booked the lead role in a new Netflix series, or so she thinks.
Right.
Her team, her whatever agents, yeah. They were like pushing her to do this, and she didn't necessarily love the script initially, but her agents, of course, they're trying to get their money. And so they said, look, it's Netflix, and as a child star, you don't get many opportunities to break out of like
that like image.
Yeah, you get like cheesy sitcoms maybe or whatever, but to get a Netflix show felt like a very big deal.
Yeah, like
so
real.
Jeanette again has hope, which y'all know we left on quite a we left on quite a dark place. So she was pretty much in the worst place of her life,
right?
Truly. So
we reached the top of the coaster. Sorry.
We did make it. I feel like we're on the way down now.
Yeah, I think we are too. We're on the descent.
Well, guys, so when I say we thought it was Netflix, it's because it is not being produced by Netflix. It's not like a Stranger Things.
Right.
It is like a Canadian-based random house TV production that Netflix is like buying.
And this was like early days of Netflix before it was like, well, I mean, it was on the come up being like Netflix, like it was a big deal, but like it was still like new to the scene.
Right. Right. So she is in Toronto to, act and
to film,
to do her thing.
Yeah.
Her job, and she's just excited to be starring in a real show. Okay, so when she gets there, she's like, I gotta turn my life around, basically. This is the start of something new. So she goes and buys like all these self-help books, which I've been there, and she reads them all in the span of a week, and she kind of like puts together a little plan, and she's like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And she says, I will focus on myself. She writes the phrase in her diary, And she does still have this little OCD tick where she touches the page 5 times. And she also mentions that she does a twirl every time she enters her bathroom and says, but at least that one's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Which, again, killed me. I was just like, hello, I love you.
I was like looking at it in my head, like her twirling before she goes in the bathroom. I'm
just imagining her doing a little
twirl.
twirl.
Yeah.
So anyway, she's like, look, I need to focus on me, not these distractions that are the bulimia, that is the drinking, that is just all the self-sabotaging patterns that she has. But then she meets Steven.
Which, do you know that Kesha song, Steven?
It's ringing a bell.
Steven.
I can't say I listened to it.
Why won't you call me?
No.
Steven, why won't you call me? I'm gonna have to link it.
I know so many fucking random Kesha songs. I don't know that one.
I have to listen to Kesha on the way home because the other song just came in my head. There's a place downtown where the freaks will come around. Okay, let me stop.
Get out. No, but yeah, that was the time.
It was the time.
Okay, so guys, she is on the first day of the shoot, and it's a post-apocalyptic drama, and it's in a small town where a virus breaks out, which is kind of weird.
I was like, coronavirus? But this was like way before that.
Right. And so she's realizing as she's on set that this is a Canadian network thing. And she's like, oh, God. She calls her agent. They confirm. And now she's like, damn, I wish I didn't know. Like, ignorance is bliss. And she starts to have a bit of a crisis because she, at the end of the day, is like, my work is all I have. If I don't like what I'm actually working on, then I feel like I'm doing this for nothing. Like, I need to feel the value.
Yeah, and she's like, you know, again, that thing of she didn't want to be an actor in the first place, and now she's like almost ashamed of her career and like what it has been versus like what she wants it to be. Like, you know, it's that thing of, if I'm gonna be in this, like you said, I'm gonna want to do it my way. And she says, like, I'm aware there are worse things than starring on television shows you're not proud of, yet the awareness doesn't change a thing. This is the truth for me. I am ashamed. And I really like how she pointed that out, because I feel like a lot of times people are like, oh, like, you're so lucky, like, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, yes, and like, two things can be true at once.
Yeah.
I think
100%.
So.
I feel like that applies to anyone's job, really. But I do think where it's something that's so, it's like we have respect for these actors who, like, every single movie they've been in is a good one. Like those actors where you're like, oh, if they're in it, I'm watching it.
Right.
So I can see why she would want that to be the case for her.
Right.
Instead of being one of the ones where it's like, oh, Jeanette's on another rando show.
Yeah. Where's the butter sock?
Not the butter sock. But she's like kind of having a moment, y'all, and she's about to do the thing that makes her feel better in these moments, which is purge. So she is about to go do that, and she truly doesn't care about what's gonna happen after. She's like, yeah, it's gonna make my face puffy on screen, but this is what I need to do. Anyway, she gets saved by the bell. The production assistant knocks on the door and is like, okay, we gotta go. So she's like, oh, God damn it. But on the way to the set, she notices this Italian speaking man who is edgy, and he's smoking a cig, and she hears him talking to his mom, and she's like, wait, this is like an enigma. You're cool and you're talking to your mom, like,
on your break?
Dreams. This is dreamy right now. And turns out that this is going to be the production, or he's going to be the assistant director on this show. And her heart skips a beat, and she says, this means I'll get to see him every weekday for the next 3 months. So all of a sudden things are kind of seeming a little brighter, even though she does still hate the show.
Right.
She's already fantasizing about how she's gonna wind up with Steven, And all of a sudden, she's like, I'm ready to abandon this whole focus on myself thing because Steven's here now and I like Steven.
Right. It's like a distraction again.
The devil.
Well,
He comes in many forms.
you ain't lied. All right. But on to chapter 68. We are in the midst of her trying to get Steven's attention. And she's trying to make these quote unquote coincidental run-ins, but she's like, I ain't got much left in me. Like, I need this to happen. But finally, he asked her on a date. They go for drinks.
Cute.
And she's like, there's a sweetness about him. Like, she's just mesmerized by this man.
Truly.
Like, we are in the thick of the honeymooning phase right now.
Very much so. It's kind of cute.
It is kind of cute.
Like this because she's been in a man slump, if you will.
Yeah, like she hasn't like genuinely liked any of the men that she's been with thus far.
Yeah.
This is the first one where she has like
true.
Yeah, a true infatuation where it's like, oh my gosh, but I like really like him. You know?
That's cute.
And so for their second date, they go to a chain restaurant, kind of like TGI Fridays, and she goes to throw up in the bathroom and, you know, refreshes herself up. And she's like, I can't believe that just weeks ago I was ready to work on ridding myself of bulimia. It feels like such a part of me, such a staple habit. I'm relieved to still have it to lean on. And I'm like, Miss Girl, like, oh my God. But like, I understand like being in that state of mind. And I really do think like, even though it's trigger warning and everything, I think this is a really nice and different perspective that we get on mental health and
really is.
Not anxiety disorders, eating disorders, from the point of view of like someone as prominent as her, like writing it out in the book this way. Like, even though we're like us who have experienced trauma are like pointing out the dark humor, when it's like to everyone it's not as humorous, which it's like there is still some like realness and seriousness about all of this. It needs to like some of the thoughts she's had in this book or some of the thoughts I've had in real life. So it's really nice to like have that kind of representation.
Yes. No, truly. I've never seen it talked about so casually, and it almost is freeing to see that. Like, I can see how if you're in denial about having an eating disorder, seeing her talk about it in this way is like,
oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, I've had some of those thoughts.
That is how it is.
And it's like you're kind of predicting like, oh, I know what she about to do.
Like, I feel seen right now.
So that was my little side note. And so they have a couple of drinks and she's like, you know, it's just weird being in your early 20s, like past relationships, past hurts, hopes, and dreams. And they're just like talking about all of this and just life and what they do want, what they don't want. Like true, like dating
they're
stuff.
Having a like they're really, I like that they're talking.
Right. And then something that I thought was different also from the other guy she was with is Steven has this idea for them to go dancing, and they're like completely just like free, and something that she's like, you know, would like she would consider like immature or childish, like she's romanticizing with him because she like generally likes it. She says, this is pure, this is deep. I feel completely understood and seen by Steven, and he seems to feel the same way.
Wow.
Well, we find out just how much the same way he feels. And because we're on their fourth date and they're watching The Voice and they're finishing a bottle of tequila, and we can all know where this is going.
Right.
And they start making out. He takes off his shirt and then his pants, and then he puts on a condom. She said he's responsible too. I said, girl, I'm so weak.
Girl, gotta love your early 20s.
Yeah. And she was like, they have sex for the first time and it's incredible. She said the typical commentary that rattles through her brain during sex is nowhere to be found. Like, this is the first time she's having sex and is enjoying it.
Amen.
Which, hallelujah. And
round of applause.
Yeah, because she's like, you know, most times I just fake it, but like this time, this is for real. This is the real stuff. And she starts to cry. I was like, damn, like now she got emotion. Like it was that good. Like I'm rooting for you, Miss Girl. I love this for you.
Right. That actually is one of the questions on our story.
Yeah. Do you want to do it now?
I don't know. What do you want to do?
Let's do it now. Might as well while we're like here.
I thought the answers were really good.
Okay, let's do a couple of those. She's like,
because we don't talk about how long it can take to enjoy sex enough. I don't feel like we do.
You mean like as a society?
Yeah. As a young person, I just thought every time was
gonna be a good time.
Or maybe not the first time, but then like the second time is magic.
Yeah, and it takes a minute. It
does, and you just don't know how long it's gonna take. And when it does happen, it is something like cryable almost.
Like we can all relate to that feeling.
It's very emotional. Okay,
yeah, so give us a couple of responses. What we got?
So the question was, first of all, have you ever had good sex? And we got 11 votes. We did a poll and a question thing. Double.
Okay.
We got 11 votes for yes, and we got 2 votes for no.
And what were some responses?
The question was, how long did it take you to learn what sex is supposed to feel like? And we got different responses, which one said like 3 to 4 years. One said only learned what good sex is when I had sex with an experienced partner.
Which is something else where it's like,
that's a big one too.
That's a big one. Yeah. Somebody who knows what they're doing.
A couple years. And then we also have one that is, I learned before I did it for the first time, which kudos to you, girl.
Yeah.
Because I wish I could have studied up.
So set yourself up
orgasms. Because the way I wasn't finding mine. Lana knows. It took me, I think, closer to 3 years, I would say.
To figure it out.
To get to where I was like, oh,
like this is how this is supposed to feel.
Oh, right. Because otherwise I was like kind of dreading it. I was like
a chore.
Yeah, like this is something like that you do and it feels okay, it feels good, but I'm not like getting that ultimate satisfaction that makes you want to have sex again.
Right. Which it is hard. So thank you for those responses. We're gonna keep it going with the story questions throughout this episode. But yeah, that's pretty much it. They have really incredible sex and she's in love.
That's a good way to end.
Not going into 69.
No, that's cute. Okay. All right, now.
I'm so weak.
So we are back in California now. They're still working on Jeanette's
Billy
house.
is still there. Yeah, I was like, God damn! Like, what is
Billy's
happening?
getting paid.
Yeah, he is.
The longest contract job I've ever heard of.
I know, literally. Okay.
But she is feeling kind of not so good anymore, guys. Steven is in Canada, and it's been a little hard for her to be alone. Like, the anxiety's coming back. And she says things like, she wants to know if this show is going to end her career. She's kind of fixating on that right now. And she said, I've pretended to be other people my whole life, my whole childhood and adolescence and young adulthood. The years you're supposed to be spending finding yourself, I was pretending to be other people. The years I was supposed to be building character, I was building literal characters.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I was like, damn.
Well,
for child stars, like I never really thought of it like that, where it's like you don't have a true childhood. Or I was watching this clip from something, damn it, I can't remember what it was, but it was a child star, and they were like, you know, all those scenes that we did from this TV show where we went to prom and we went to homecoming, like those were just scenes. We never did that in real life. We had to act it based on what we knew from like movies and stuff, because we had never experienced it ourselves.
That's so like, that's hard. Like you can't even really method act in a way because you've never done it.
So same like for her scenario.
Well, sheesh.
Right.
Well, okay, guys. So she is at this point realizing she kind of needs to quit this whole acting thing. Yeah. She's saying it doesn't serve her mental or emotional health and that it's actually destructive to both. And she's realizing that the eating disorder, the alcohol, the acting are really like some things she can't keep doing, which is growth. And at the same time, she resents them and they also define her. And she's like, maybe that is why I resent them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the realization of all of this draws her to the toilet, just like any other stress does. And she purges. And by the time she gets to her couch, she sees she missed a call from Steven.
Mm-hmm.
And Steven and her, we learn, became official the day before Jeanette left Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So like right at the end of the filming, Steven wrote her a love letter asking her to be his woman.
So cute.
It's a really cute love story so far. And she said she felt like the most intense feeling she's ever felt in her life. And she was just like, I don't know where the future is going to take us. I don't know if long distance is going to work. Maybe he'll go back to his life and I'll go back to mine. But if Steven's calling her right now in this moment, she's like, that means we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
So she's relieved and she knows what's going on because they FaceTimed last night for their nightly 3-hour FaceTime.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentioned he was looking into flights for LA. And so this call, she's like, oh, okay, he got a flight.
Yeah, this is a relationship. It's not a fling. I
Period.
love that part.
Very, very, very cute.
Because if he wanted to, he would.
would. Period. So Steven's plane is landing and he's on his way to Jeanette.
Mm-hmm.
There's a knock on her door and she lets him in and it's kind of like, ooh, I'm shy.
It's like, this is a little awkward.
Yeah. And then of course they start hugging and then they start making out and then they have sex and they fuck 3 times on the couch and then everything's back to normal.
Yeah, so it's just a little sexual tension.
And so Steven goes to the bathroom after they've been talking for a while and he comes out and he's a little bit tense. The vibe has shifted.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Jenny, which is so cute that he calls her Jenny.
That's so cute.
She says, what? Like, what? You're freaking me out. And Steven's like, it's just, do you have a problem?
See, at this point, I thought he was gonna like say like, "Are you an alcoholic?" and like saw all the alcohol bottles or something. I was not expecting this next part.
I know this is crazy. He said, there's vomit residue on the seat. And she says, oh,
That's it.
the thing I do. You know, like how you smoke.
I was like, girl, this is not the same.
He's not buying it, guys.
He even says, no, they're different. Like,
He said, this can kill you. And she's like, yeah, that can kill you too.
I said points were made, though. Points were made.
Right. I mean, I kind of get it. It's like, who are you to tell me it's a problem? You've got a problem too.
Mm-hmm.
And he said,
But I know what he means.
Well,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And honestly, I low-key didn't realize. We've been reading for so long that I should have realized, but I really didn't think bulimia could kill you. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought it was very bad, not sustainable. Like, you may have to go to the hospital, but I didn't think it could literally kill you.
Yeah. Because, it's not.
This is not good.
It's not good.
And it's really cute that he cares in a way. And he's like, basically gives this girl an ultimatum, which means that he truly does care about her. But he looks at her in a way that is pitying and parental, and it's just not a way she likes. But she realizes, like, oh shit, like, he's serious.
Yeah, like, I gotta change.
So yeah, we kind of end that she's like very taken aback that this is a huge enough problem for him that he's willing to end the relationship.
Yeah, and I think, another thing I just thought about, like, maybe because it's so like normalized in Hollywood culture for like, oh, you got an eating disorder, you like are an alcoholic, like whatever, like it's not a big deal. And so for him to like be in the industry and be like, no, this is a big fucking deal, like I care about you and this is not good.
Yeah,
I think that was her like, oh shit, like her like almost dose of like reality check,
bring you back down to earth.
Yeah,
maybe it's for the best, right?
Well, we finna find out because we are on chapter 70, page 234, and we are introduced to her new therapist, Laura. She's kind of like this she makes her sound like really majestic. She calls her boho chic, and she's just like almost like the TV, the TV therapist. You would like, oh, just like come into my office, sit in my chair, let's talk.
She gives her a big hug, and Jeanette's like, I'm not even into hugs.
Right? She's like mesmerized by this woman.
But I'll hug you.
Right? Yeah, that's literally what happens. And so they're in her office, and she's like, what brings you in? Like, kind of like that thing that happens when you go to therapy for the first time. Which, was that a question?
Speaking of questions, it was a fucking question.
It's time for another story question.
It was gonna be so smooth. Such a smooth transition, and then plop.
That's our lives, though.
Very true. Okay, guys. So we have a question that was, have you ever been to therapy? And we've got 21 votes for yes. We've got 1 vote for no. Mm-hmm. And we also asked, how did your first therapy session make you feel? So we got some responses.
Like, give me a couple.
I needed to come back for a second session because 50 minutes isn't long enough.
Preach. That 1 hour, like 50 minutes goes by so fast.
Like, damn, we're at the end.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to wrap this up.
Right. Especially if you're leaving on a certain note, you're like, well, I mean, that's my life. That's what's happening.
True. We've got heard by an unbiased listener, validated and relieved, emotional, weird as fuck. You mean to tell me there's more than 4 emotions?
Yeah.
So we're
all
across
feeling
the board.
it.
But yeah, it is nice to like, oh, you just want to hear me talk?
Right.
And you're not going to judge me?
I was just about to say, you're not going to judge me.
You're not going to tell me what to do.
Right.
You're just going to like
listen.
Yeah. Like what?
Wild concept, man.
Love to see it.
So she asks what brings you in. She tells her about Steven's ultimatum and how she loves him and wants things to work out. And she's like, okay, that's all cool. But like, therapy is a thing we as individuals have to decide to do. We have to want to change, not for somebody else, but for ourselves. And then she asks her, so Jeanette, do you want to change? And in this moment, she's like, yeah, like she's very much going into like actor mode of like, I'm giving you what you want to see, like as in Laura's like the director and she's like auditioning for a role. Like that's how she's treating this right now.
So real.
She even says like, yes, I can swim, yes, I can pogo stick, yes, I want to change. Like it's all the same to her. And Laura's like, okay, good. And so Laura asks her what she's struggling with, and she brings up her mom's death, bulimia, alcohol, the works, all the things that's going on right now. Mm-hmm. And she's been told that she's gonna have to have multiple sessions to unpack all of this, which valid. And she says in her buttery voice, Laura gives her a rundown of how things are gonna work. She's taking a holistic approach to her recovery, and each session will incorporate a lot of variety. And she said, today we'll focus on a life wheel so that we can gauge where you're starting at. But how, like, if you've been to therapy, how your first session goes. It's very much like getting to know you. It's almost like a first date, but like with someone who's going to help you mentally.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the first day of school.
Yeah.
The
syllabus.
Goes.
It's like syllabus day. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, over the next 4 months, we'll go shopping together, cook together, discover your hobbies and passions. Like, it's a really in-depth approach, which I was like, I feel like she needs at this point.
Yeah.
Because she has so many, like, high-risk things going on all at the same time.
Very true.
To unpack. And Jeanette's like, all this sounds good to me. Especially since, she says Laura will be there by her side. And she won't have to lose Steven. She's like, where's the dotted line, baby? Sign me up. I'm ready to change.
I loved it. I was like, okay, intentions are questionable, but I like the
attitude.
Yeah. I'm here for. She's just so like
ready to go. Ready to start.
So funny.
Right. Okay. And then we get into 71.
All right, guys. These last 2 chapters were a bit longer.
Yes, and intense. So buckle up.
Oh, Lord. Okay, guys. So she is still doing Nickelodeon stuff. Mm-hmm. And she is at the Teen Choice People's Choice Fan Favorite Award Show.
you know, she said they're all blurred together, and I was like, they did. I used to like, it's like the Teen Choice and then Teen Choice, blah, 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 and it was like so many different things where it's like, I just know I'm watching an award show right now.
Even reading it, I'm confused.
Mm-hmm.
So she's about to present an award or something like that, and she tells us they're still airing new episodes of Sam and Cat. So even though she's like in this whole other place in her career, she's still also on these like kids magazines, smiling and being that girl.
Right.
And so she's like portraying the image of a carefree starlet with the world on a string. Tee.
Right. Like.
And so she says she's been seeing Laura for a month now, and she low-key, high-key feels worse than she did when she sat there for the first time. And firstly, it's because Steven is out of town working. And secondly, it's because she's aware of just how bleak things are.
Mm-hmm. That point when therapy gets real.
It's like, oh, yeah, I guess I'm here to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to come face to face. Like, she can't keep running because she's going to therapy every week.
Right. Every day.
Oh, is it every day?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
they have
damn.
sessions every day.
That's probably good.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she's like, I can't remain in denial anymore about my alcohol consumption, my bulimia, the denial, the grief of my mom's passing. And she's just kind of like, now that she's telling all this to Laura, she's just telling all this to us too. Mm-hmm. She's just giving us kind of a synopsis of where she is, and she tells us that she's binging and purging 5 to 10 times a day and drinking at least 8 or 9 shots of hard liquor at night. And she is like, Laura has told her that she's a failure. I don't think Laura said that in so many words, but that's kind of the takeaway.
Yeah, that's how she feels.
Not feeling. She's not like
You're doing
MVP
great.
of therapy right now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that is really stressful to her, the situation she's in, because they kind of like put together a list of really stressful situations that make Jeanette want to purge, and red carpet events were near the top of the list. Mm-hmm. And because of that, Laura is there with her. And we learn that they're very hard for her because there's a lot of food at these red carpet events. Mm-hmm. Just a bunch of little finger snacky foods all over the place. And she is kind of like tempted to distract herself and do the thing that makes her feel better when she's at these because of the stress.
Right.
So she's about to go on stage to present, and the lights are low, and she can see Laura sitting in the front row, which is making her feel better. Mm-hmm. Laura's mouthing, "You've got this," but then Angelina Jolie happens to walk by.
Right. I was like, hello.
So Laura is here for Jeanette, but there's all these stars that just happen to be there that are a little bit distracting.
Yeah.
Which is valid.
Valid. Right. Again, if Beyonce there and I'm here for you. Like, I love you, but it's Beyonce.
I know, I'm like, Laura, step out of it. Yeah. Jeanette needs you right now.
I know, right.
Jeanette's like, I'm desperate for her support, but she's like, I honestly can't blame Laura. Look, I get that it's Angelina.
It's fucking Angelina Jolie.
So the lights come on and they're so bright, and she's like, I can't ever get used to this. I don't know how people do it. She starts talking, and she's talking in her fun voice, and she's doing a lot of big gestures, and she's realizing she's doing it, and she's not really like in control of what's going on. Mm-hmm. She's like, this is actually an out-of-body experience, which is valid. I cannot imagine talking to that many people, actor or not actor. Like,
I know, like
very
big crowd of people like that
with the lights blinding. Like, it's very scary.
Yeah.
Apparently Nick Jonas won, so good for him. Mm-hmm. And when she's realizing she's shaking when she gets done, and she's walked off the stage, and the security guard comes up, and she's kind of being escorted by him into the backstage area, and she realizes she's got tears streaming down her cheeks. And so she's having a bit of a panic attack, and she's realizing it's because she hasn't purged all day.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is kind of like all of this energy is like in her, and she's just like her hands are in balls, clenched, and she is just super, super overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
She says that she's been with Laura all day, and she gives this little background that Laura tells her that she could only be her +1 if she agreed to meet up with her ahead of the event so that they could eat lunch together.
Right.
And Laura said she knew that Jeanette's instinct would be to starve herself before the award show, which could lead to a binge and purge later. Mm-hmm. So Laura's like, we're going to sit down and eat together.
Yeah, like, let's be proactive about this.
Fire. So they order a healthy lunch, and Jeanette says that she picks at her food like a tantrumy 3-year-old. And Laura's kind of walking her through it. She's like, I know you don't want to, but you can't do this type of thing without having food in your stomach. Mm-hmm. So they sit there, and she finally like eats a few bites, and Laura tries to get her to eat a few more bites, and then they go off on their way to this award show. Mm-hmm. So the fact that like all of this is in her stomach, she like just feels really gross. And as soon as she gets backstage, she also sees a bunch of food.
A buffet table.
Gotta love it. And she lists out, there's olives, there's mini sausages, there's shrimp cocktail, there's mini grilled cheese sandwich, there's popcorn chicken, there's cheeseburger sliders.
Which this next part I was like, relatable.
Cheeseburger fucking sliders. I'm dying to cram one of those meaty cheesy sliders into my mouth and then throw them up in the bathroom.
That last part was less relatable, but you know, everything before that.
Cheeseburger fucking sliders do sound really good. Mm-hmm. That's valid.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I know I shouldn't do it. And she's like, that's why Laura's here. Laura, that's what I need. I need Laura. Where's Laura? And she's scanning the room frantically, and she sees everybody else except for Laura.
Who ends up being with freaking Adam Sandler.
And she realizes that she can either like interrupt them right now while Laura's like having this wonderful moment with Mr. Sandler, or she could go and stuff her face. Mm-hmm. And she's like, here I go.
Yeah, I'm about to let's do this. She's distracted. I'm gonna go do what I know is gonna be the fix for this.
Period. And so she's like shoving these cheeseburgers into her mouth. She's got her back turned so no one can really see what she's doing. And Laura kind of sneaks up behind her and says, I think it's great that you're eating. I would love it if you would slow down a little bit, though. I want to make sure we step away to a private area afterwards so that you can process your emotions without purging. How does that sound? Which I'm like, Laura.
At first I was like, who is this? And then I realized, I was like, oh, yikes.
Laura, you are an angel. I like the way she just says these things. It's so,
she's like, you know,
beautiful.
That's great that you're eating right now. However.
Right. She's like a mom. Like, I love the way she says
which
things.
I'm going to let you finish, but I got some.
And Jeanette's heart sinks. She's like, God damn it. This bitch again.
Yeah. She's like, I know she means well, but damn.
She's like, I hate that she's disrupting my ability to purge. And then Laura realizes like what's really going on. She sees that she's got tears streaming down her cheeks, and she says, you know, why don't we just head out? Mm-hmm. Which is a great decision. And they pile into the car, and Jeanette immediately starts sobbing. The panic attack is in full force. She said it feels like death. And she's screaming, no, not the sliders. Why did I eat the fucking sliders? She's like, they feel like a rock in my stomach. And Laura strokes her hair and says, you're doing great.
I was like, all right, Kris Jenner. You're doing amazing, sweetie.
Really? It doesn't feel like I'm doing great. It feels like I'm in the middle of a full-fledged breakdown after white-knuckling my way through 3 teleprompter lines and not being able to cope with eating what she calls 2 rich people's White Castles. LOL. And Laura just tells her it's really normal to have these types of reactions. And this is the part that makes me feel like seeing the therapist talk her through this is so good, because we've been in this place where we're just in Jeanette's world of like, this is great. Yeah, I feel so much better. And like to see her so upset and Laura being like, this is actually very normal is like really, it's a great thing to hear and see. And I just, you know, you just don't know till you know.
Right.
But Jeanette feels humiliated. She feels like this feeling is impossible to like make to go away. And the driver's just trying to drive. And, you know, Laura's like, look, can you turn the radio up? And some Gloria Estefan plays from the speaker. And Jeanette's like, Mom used to love Gloria Estefan.
I was like, God damn.
So it's just one of those moments that just keeps on getting worse.
What's up?
But then fucking Laura, I'm sorry, Laura, but you're so crazy for this. She said, Jeanette, this is what recovery looks like.
I was with you until this point right here. I was like, can we not have picked a better time? Like maybe we're doing a recap of the night the next day.
Just let her be upset, Laura.
Let her get it out. Like this is not the time. Even Jeanette, keep going. Even Jeanette says it, you know.
No, really though.
like in her head, like damn.
Like she reminds, the more we learn about Laura, the more I'm like, oh, she is like this floating on a cloud type of all love, bohemian, hippie, happy, everything's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it can be kind of frustrating when you're like upset.
Yeah.
And somebody's like, you're so blessed or something like that. You know?
Yeah.
So, Jeanette's like, this is complete bullshit. She's like, to make things even worse, Laura shuts her eyes and repeats herself.
And it starts, this?
And Jeanette's like, no, Laura, please do not give me that dramatic pause for emphasis. Do not give me that dramatic is what recovery looks like. Guys, these chapters are so funny.
Oh, and again, funny if you've been through some shit and like now you can laugh on the other side, but it's still not ha ha funny. It's like
goddamn funny.
Like, God damn it, yeah. Okay, in last chapter for this episode, chapter 72, page 243. We are back in Laura's office. We have made it back.
Laura.
And it's about to get worse. But not y'all will see. And so, you know, they're back in her office and Jeanette finally made it happen. She's gone a full 24 hours without making herself throw up, which is huge for her.
Put my shit down. Look.
Yeah.
We've been waiting on. That's huge.
It's huge. Like when you're on your journey and like you make that first big milestone, it's like fuck. Like it's only up from there.
True.
Usually.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
True.
Okay.
Also
But,
true.
yeah. Okay. And she's like, maybe it doesn't sound that impressive, but like for me, like this was my mountain right here. And I feel like that's a good point. Like everybody's mountain looks different and like this could seem small to somebody else, but for her, like it's such a big deal and it means so much.
She's been working on this for over a month now.
And she says, I have felt controlled by this eating disorder even since beginning her work with Laura. She hadn't gone a full day without making herself throw up. She'll struggle through sessions, and as soon as she gets back home, she purges. And so, you know, the pattern has proven grueling, and the disappointment in herself has proven overwhelming, but now she can finally say she made it happen. And so they're talking it out. Laura's like clapping for her. She's asking her how she was able to do it, how she managed, like kind of like do that little recap of like, okay, how did you feel when that happened? How did we get here? Like try to repeat those like patterns and positive affirmations. But then that's when Jeanette's pride starts to fade. She's like, you know, it was really hard. I'm not convinced I'll be able to do it again. She's like, not throwing up for 24 hours? Hello? And, you know, she's struggling to find her emotions because Laura has given her this assignment, which is a challenging task to her, which is to write her feelings on paper, which she finds really hard to connect with even her own emotions.
That's a good practice.
And you know, she's like, you know, are all the comfortable emotions an option? And she's like, you know, I've had bouts of sobbing, and she's called Laura, which now like she has Laura's phone number and can reach her directly. And she's like, the task is of feeling like this is confusing, overwhelming, blob of emotions instead of distracting herself with her bulimia is daunting. It's a daunting task. Bulimia has just been her source of distraction from not having to deal with literally everything else.
So true.
And so she expresses this to Laura, these fears that she has, and she's assuring her, you know, through these steps, like, we'll be able to like get through this and overcome these things. It'll just take time, which I think is another great thing that some people, you know, go into therapy and think it's going to be a quick fix, but like that's not how this works, especially depending on what you're going in for. Like, it looks different for everybody. Like, maybe you could go to therapy for a week and be cured. Well, I say quote unquote cured, but like helped.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can take months. And even like now, I feel like I've graduated from my current step of therapy, but
Snaps.
That doesn't mean down the line that I won't need to go back for some more help. It could be something totally different. It could be a resurgence of what I was going there for originally. Like, you never really know. It's a constant thing that you have to like check in on yourself for.
Very true.
And like know these signs that you learn in therapy, being like, oh fuck, that right there means I need to go book a session right now.
Yeah, no, that's so true. It's just all about knowing yourself. And so her having to write down her feelings is like a way of connecting with her own self.
Exactly. And so then Laura explains to her that now that she's experienced what it's felt like to not throw up, now that she knows she can do it, they can go even deeper. Because, you know, this is like, therapy is like baby steps.
Yeah.
And each step, it gets a little harder and harder, which I don't think Jeanette was prepared for. Just how hard it was going to get. Like, that was the easy part.
That's true.
And, you know, she's like, while this experience has meant motivation for herself, she can't just treat that problem and not the cause. Like, you have to do the whole full circle moment. She has to get what's underneath the bulimia, what's driving it.
Yep. You gotta get the root.
Right. And now she's like, I'm nervous to see what this will entail. And then Laura says, I want to understand more about little Jeanette. In that moment, I said, oh, fuck.
I
shit.
did not know it was going to go left.
Because once you start dealing with that childhood stuff,
It's hard.
It's hard. It can go one of two ways.
Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, my childhood. I know my childhood. But then you start unpacking your childhood, and all of a sudden...
Right.
It's just like, oh.
That realization.
Like, so many
And
realizations.
then Jeanette's like, always with the childhood, these therapists. Like, why do they always want to go back there? And she says, I've seen enough movies and TV shows to know, like, the classic therapeutic scapegoat is what she calls it. But then she says, some shit happened in your childhood. It messed you up. And that's why you are the way you are. Which I'm like, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Like, it's real. And she's like, but not me. She's like, I didn't have an alcoholic dad. My brothers didn't torture me when my parents weren't home. Yeah, we were poor and we lived in a hoarder house. And yeah, my mom had cancer when I was little, which was very scary. But otherwise, things are fine. And I was like, girl.
I know. I was like, okay, Jeanette. Whatever gets you through the day.
Right. And so she relays this to Laura, who, like, gently suggesting in her tone, you know, that she's refused to play the game of boo-hoo, my child was woof. And Laura's like, okay. And Jeanette gets irritated by this because she's just like, you know, usually I fuck with you, but your tone was a little off there. And then Laura's like, tell me about your mom. Tell me about your relationship with her when you were a kid. And I said, And she says, immediately I'm on the defense. Why does she want to talk about mom? Ain't nothing wrong with her.
No,
Mom was
really?
perfect. I was like, but then she says, I know in my gut that I don't believe this, that it's a lot more complicated than this. But why on earth would I tell Laura the specifics? And that right there hit for me personally, because, you know, I have mommy issues and like kind of had the same like bond that Jeanette had with her mom.
Speak on it.
And when you have that like click, when you're like, oh shit, this is kind of not healthy all the way of a relationship. It's hard to deal with because you don't want to think of it like that. You'd rather like be in that sense of denial, which is exactly what Jeanette does. She's like, mom was wonderful. She was the perfect mom. That's what she's telling Laura. And she's like, oh yeah, what was so perfect? And I was like, ooh. And she says she throws on her best fake smile. She's like, Laura's sharp, so like I gotta like make this shit believable. And she's like, just everything. Like she took care of me and my brothers. I'm sure it was hard for her. And then Laura said that was her job.
That took me out. Took me out. Took me out. Took me out. Because parents will try to make you think that you make their life so hard when this is what they signed up for.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They will guilt you, shame you, hit you. They'll do everything under the sun to make you feel bad. And it's like,
but I didn't choose to be here.
That part. She said that was her job.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to like bold, all caps, highlight. And
People
so Jeanette,
don't say it like that.
they don't. Like,
When you go to therapy,
point blank,
and
therapy is different.
when they say something and you're like,
Oh.
that's making me think about my own life.
Like I can remember a session. I was like, damn.
Right? You're just like, did you have to read me like that?
For filth. Okay. And so Jeanette says, I feel interrogated. Like she can't say the right things. And I'm like, yeah, babe, because in therapy, like you can't say the right thing. Like that's not
But
what
the
this is
thing
here
is,
for.
she's trying to win.
Mm-hmm.
She just wants to be with her man. Like she's like, I do not care.
Yeah,
Like, what do you want to hear? I'm gonna tell it to you.
Mm-hmm. Let's fix me real quick so I can go be with Steven.
Right, because I'm going to therapy. I'm with Steven.
Right.
1 + 1 = 2.
Mm-hmm. She said, well, but I mean, this was different than from most parents. Like, you know, like this wasn't just her job. And Laura's like, how so?
She's just like, damn, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, she's like, she sacrificed everything for me. She constantly went without so she could take care of me. She put me first ahead of herself. And then Laura says, and do you think that's healthy? Woo!
That is cracking me up.
She's like, what kind of fresh hell is this? Why is this the impossible to ace quiz? I have no idea how I'm supposed to be answering this to make mom look good.
She's like, Deborah, what do you want me to say right now?
It's
I'm
like,
really trying here, but this bitch
this bitch
trying to cover you. Can you come down here?
She's like, I will not allow it.
It's so sweet though.
Yeah,
It's
right.
Really
Yeah.
so sweet.
Because I mean, that is one of the things she like is needing to work out in therapy is like the death of her mother and like all that means. But now that we're here, it's like not going how she thought it would.
Gotta love Jeanette coming in with her scripts and her treating this like a damn job interview.
I know. And Jeanette's like, well, I mean, I put her first too. So that kind of balanced it out. We balanced each other, putting each other first out. And she's like thrown off. Like she's trying to like say it the right way, but can't find the right words. And, you know, Laura holds off this unreadable look. She says nothing. And then Jeanette clarifies. She's like, we were best friends. And then she says, oh, did your mom have any friends her own age as well? Or was her main friendship the one she had with you? And I was like, everything that we've been thinking and saying this whole, like, journey here.
She just keeps
she's hit after hit after hit.
Her.
And she's finally just like, what the fuck do you want from me, Laura? Like in her head. And she's like squirming in her seat. And then Laura's like, are you comfortable? And then she's like, I'm extremely comfortable. And then she says, did your mom have any friends her own? And she said, yeah, no, I heard the question.
Oh.
And Laura looked like kind of startled. And she says, sorry. She's like, it's absolutely fine. And she's like, couldn't have just been fine, Laura. Damn. Why does it have to be absolutely fine?
Laura, fuck you.
That's exactly
What's your mom like, Laura?
And then Laura's like, so? Like, and then Jeanette says she had acquaintances, yes. She always said she didn't really have time for friends, which makes sense to me because she was really busy taking me to auditions and set and everything. And then Laura's like, yes. So when did you first want to start acting? I said,
Damn.
oh my.
Jeanette can't catch a break
She
today.
can't. And then Jeanette said, I know a trick question when I hear one. And she says, actually, mom wanted me to start acting because she wanted me to have a better life than she had. And Laura says, oh, so you didn't want to start acting. Your mom wanted you to start. And she's like, yes. And she says, because she wanted me to have a better life than she had. And it's very kind and generous of her. And Laura's like, okay. Yeah, okay. She's like, it was. And then Laura's like, I understand. And then there's like a beat of like just silence. And then Laura says, can you tell me the first time you were aware of your weight or your body in a... And then Laura pauses to find the right words. And she says, significant way. She's like, this one I don't want to answer. She's like, And then she says, well, when I was 11, I was concerned about getting boobs. So mom taught me about calorie restriction to help me out. Laura says, to help you out? Jeanette says, yes. She says, what do you mean to help you out? She's like, well, I was concerned about getting boobs. She says, right. But how does your mom teaching you about calorie restriction help you out? And she says, because watching my calories meant I could delay adulthood. And then Laura starts staring at her again.
It's like when you're talking and someone realizes you're insane.
Not insane, but like, the
way you're thinking is not making sense. Like the math's not mathing.
Yeah.
Because Jeanette wholeheartedly believes this.
That
even
it's
though
okay.
She, maybe
she knows.
deep down it's like, this isn't okay. She's been in denial for so long. And she's been telling herself this story for so long that it's like, now that she's having to let the pressure's on and the story isn't, the math's not mathing.
Right. And she's like going back to, well, Laura says, Jeanette, what you're describing is really unhealthy. Your mother essentially condoned your anorexia, encouraged it. She taught it to you. That's abuse.
Girl, that shocked me. I was like, oh.
And then
abuse.
So like, yeah.
You're right.
Right. And Jeanette's like flashing back to the first time she heard anorexia. And suddenly she feels like that 11-year-old girl who was confused and scared and uncertain. Oh. And so she wells with tears. She's embarrassed. She's well trained in crying and not crying on two. So she resorts to her old tricks. And Laura's like, it's okay to let it out. And in her head, she's like, shut the fuck up, Laura. She's like, I can't take this anymore. She goes one day without throwing up under her belt. And now we're dethroning my mother and demolishing the narrative of her that I clung to my entire life.
It is a lot.
It was a lot.
It's like you just had a huge win. And now we're just going to knock you down a peg.
Right. A few.
Several.
And she's like, I have to go. And then she's like, wait, Jeanette, this is good work, important work, which it is, but like in moderation. And tears well. Laura suggesting that her mom's abusive is just like a whole new thing. It changes everything. She even says, if mom really didn't want what was best for me or do what was best for me or know what was best for me, that means my entire life, my entire point of view, and my entire identity have been built on a false foundation, which like that realization alone, it's a lot. She pulls up to her lonely house, engine still running. She pulls out her phone and drafts an email to Laura. Laura, thanks for all your help this past month, but I will no longer be attending therapy. Thank you, Jeanette. Her finger kind of like hovering over the send button, but then she just abruptly like like that thing where you're like, I know I'm nervous about this, but like I just get it over with.
That thing, send the text, whatever it is.
Yeah, and so she rushes inside. She runs to the bathroom, and this binge session is not like the others. She makes herself throw up repeatedly. She's jamming her fingers down her throat harder and harder. Blood's coming up. She's like, I gotta keep going. I need this. She takes a bath, attempting to relax, but when she gets out, like her body feels achy and feverish, the same way it feels after every purge. She says, I crawl into my bed sore, tired body, curl into a ball. I swipe up on my phone. 3 missed calls from Laura and 1 voicemail. I delete Laura's number. I guess I won't have a +1 for my next event. And that's how we end this.
Guys, this was a tough one.
It was tough. It was really, 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 really tough.
We're like on the verge of something so good, but to get there is it's not easy.
It's a hard journey. Also, if you are dealing with anything that we are talking about in this season, this episode, this everything, please, I feel like you should tap into that. Like if you like are feeling these things, like tap into that a little bit. Maybe if you feel so inclined to reach out for help, whether it be emailing us at shewellread@gmail.com, and we can provide you with some resources on what we know. Or, you know, if you have a therapist and you're listening to this and it's resurfacing some old emotions, make an appointment. Like, it is okay to check in really quick, even if you don't need it. Like, right, exactly. Being proactive, I think, is the biggest thing when it comes to things like this and mental health and all of that. So just check in with yourself. And if this is like, because I know for me, I was like, this is a lot. This book has been a lot. It's been really, really good, but like, you know, I need to check in with myself even after we record like almost every episode. Just like, all right, did this tap into something that we haven't been like feeling for a while, and now we're feeling again, and how do we feel about that? So
it's really beautiful that Jeanette is allowing us to like connect with ourselves through her own, you know, like
journey.
Journey of her life. She's such a good writer.
Yes, 10 out of 10, loving it. But until next time, this has been another episode of She Well Read. I'm Alana.
I'm Samra.
We love you.
Bye. Guys.